Hey there, everybody. I hope you guys are doing fabulous. I hope you are doing wonderful. I don't know. I really am questioning a lot of different things. And I see that I'm not the only one. There's always room for growth and spirituality, self-improvement, and just all around being a better version of you. That is one thing that we always strive to aim for. Being a better version of ourselves, better version than what we were yesterday. There are plenty of things that, as the days progress, I take for granted. Plenty of things that just kind of pass me by. I get angry when I shouldn't. I get stressed when I shouldn't. That goes along with being human. We are all humans, and we all react to certain things in ways we don't want to react towards. One thing that I've been focused on a lot recently, there's one major thing, and it kind of correlates into so many different things. This one thing, it kind of has everything in a wrap. I call it the rabbit hole. I venture down a rabbit hole almost with everything, and I'm always questioning things. I'm questioning everything for intent, for purposes, just for reasonings. Dude, I think. Damn. That sucks. Excuse me, I guess an accident just happened right outside my apartment. But yes, I question so much. I don't know if I'm going to edit that out or not. I probably should. But I question a lot. Why do I question things? Ever since I was young, it was ingrained into me by my father. Question authority. And don't believe everything you see on television. Never really said too much about books or, no, I can't say the newspaper and the news. The news was one of his main things, and television. But as I've gotten older and technology has progressed, a huge progression of technology, a huge progression of knowledge, of vast information just at our fingertips that was never readily available before. And I thought I was the only one concerned about these issues that I've been seeing. But I stumbled upon a video the other night, and I see that I am not the only one, and people are actually interested, at least interested in this man, because he has 282,000 views on this one video. So this is something that has been plaguing my mind for quite some time. And I'm sure this is going to be one of many attempts of talking about it. I'm sure I'm going to be talking about this a lot. Because this is the forefront of all of my research, or when I start doing research on certain things and trying to develop understanding and the truth, to try to get all my facts. This is what always makes me slip up and just go in a crazy rabbit hole of information, or just I don't know, kind of depression, a lack of motivation, because I don't think I will ever understand. So, questioning authority and questioning not only people that are of power, that are influential, but also questioning teachers. Your belief when you're young begins and starts with what you are taught by your family, your immediate family, your mother, your father, your grandparents, your adoptive parents, your aunts, your uncles, your brothers, your sisters. What you begin to believe has been molded by these influential people. And you have to think, where did they get their information from? Where did your mother, father, grandfather, grandmother, brothers, sisters get their information from? More than likely, they got it from their immediate family, their mothers, their fathers, their sisters, their brothers. Where did they get it from? It goes down that rabbit hole. I like to describe it as a rabbit hole. Now, of course, when this country was first started, from what we are told, it was to break off away from England because of taxes. I don't know. Hold on, let's look it up. We could look it up together. Why was America founded? Among them was the idea that all people are created equal, whether European, Native American, or African American, and that these people have fundamental rights such as liberty, freedom of speech, freedom of religion, due process of law, and freedom of assembly. We know that's not entirely true. Was America founded as a Christian nation? What was America founded on? Many of the founding fathers, Washington, Jefferson, Franklin, Madison, and Monroe, practiced a faith called deism. Deism is a philosophical belief in a human reason as a reliable means of solving social and political problems. Did America separate from England is basically what I'm looking for. The American colonists thought of themselves as citizens of Great Britain and subjects of King George III. They were tied to Britain through trade, and by the way they were governed, trade was restricted to the colonies, had to rely on Britain for importing goods. Revolutionary governments in the colony states and the Second Continental Congress cut ties with Britain one by one, at length on July 2nd, 1776. Declaring these United States colonies, I believe it was taxes. I thought it was taxes to begin with. I'm never 100% certain. And going back to what I was saying, the certainty, even looking it up, I looked it up on my trusty, dusty iPhone from Apple. Which we'll get there. So, America was created to break free from England's taxes. It was supposed to be a free country. We did. Our ancestors, American ancestors, the founding fathers, did what people did at that time, and they conquested this land. But after they took the land and they made it theirs, they began to write the history. They began to tell us the tales that would become American history. But what if they were wrong? What if they weren't correct? And what truly happened died away with people that either were not articulate enough to be able to write, or it died away with the Indians, the Native Americans that were here with their writings that were lost, burned in the villages, or whatever. I don't know. That's not the point. But the point is, the information is kind of being fed to us by who knows, you know? That's where our grandfathers and fathers and our fathers' fathers and fathers' fathers' fathers were getting their information. It was getting passed down to them, as well as learning through classrooms, and other elders were teaching them. So we send our children to school, to primary school, to high school, middle school, to get an education. And who is funding the education? It's not even about funding, but let's just talk about the teachers. What are the teachers teaching in their curriculum? Okay. Yes, they have a set curriculum, but they're also very influential for children. And a lot of the teachers that are becoming teachers now, I'm 35, so these people are 22, 23, and at least for the past 13 years, the media has been on a roller coaster rant of racism, systematic racism, genderism, a whole skew of things that I don't want to get political with this, but a whole skew of things that were never an issue. Really, I mean, yes, there was racism, but racism, like I said, I don't want to get on this issue. We've had issues, but I believe ideas and ideals are becoming more radicalized. And you have these teachers that's all they've ever known, unlike my generation, who saw things differently. When they were growing up, they didn't have all this tension, all these biases that the teachers now are imprinting our children with. Yes, imprinting is the correct word. Psychology. Love it. But not only that, where are they getting their information from? They're getting their information from textbooks. Who decided that these books are the right books to educate the children with? I mean, back when I was growing up, for example, Pluto was a planet. I'm not sure if it's a planet now, but for a while I know it wasn't a planet. So, who decides to take away or say, hey, this is wrong now? It's the them, they do. But who is they? Who is them? It's parents and teachers on the school board. Yes? But once again, who taught these parents and the teachers? And who gave them the authority? Well, I guess the council did, but they have the authority now to dictate what is being taught to the children. Am I saying it's all wrong? No, I'm not saying it's wrong nor it should change. I'm not saying that. I'm saying it's a rabbit hole. A rabbit hole that just is ongoing. Who decides that these people are worthy enough to mold the minds of the youth? Is it a bachelor's degree? Is it a master's degree? Because unfortunately, some of us were unable to obtain that due to circumstances of life. But does that make us any less unqualified or less qualified to lecture and to teach? I don't believe so. I don't believe a piece of paper from a college, we'll get to colleges, dictates who should teach and who shouldn't. Colleges, man. When I was in college, you have to do your basic fundamental classes. So you have to do your mathematics, your Englishes, your prepositions, your histories, your civics, your social studies, etc., etc., etc. You have to do those core classes before you move on to your field of study. So if you're going into psychology, you have to do all this and you start learning about psychology, but you don't start learning the stuff that you are interested in learning, that you want to learn about. You have to learn what they want to teach you. And a good example of what I was told: when you are in school, primary, middle school, college, whatever, the stuff that you are interested in and the stuff that you start to question goes to the wayside because you're too busy memorizing the things that they want you to memorize on tests, but not the things that pique your interest or pique creativity to progress certain things. You look at Zuckerberg, all hail the creator of the Life book over here. He dropped out of college. He made his own path. He made his own rules. I'm not saying drop out of school, kids. It is very good. And the fact of the matter is, you will make more money statistically with a college education than you will without one. If you make more money without one, you're an anomaly. You're rare. It doesn't happen frequently or often. The fuck did I put my drink? There it is. Yeah, so who teaches these teachers and what information are they giving our children? It's just, like I said, it's an ever-ending cycle. It definitely is a vicious rabbit hole. I mean, it's like the fact checkers. Who fact checks the fact checkers? And that's kind of what I'm getting at with the books in school. So now we move on to the universities. I don't even know if I explained that very well. I probably did not. I'm working on that. This is why I'm here. This is why I'm doing this. I want to be able to convey my message. And maybe it will resonate with some folks. Maybe it won't. If it does, great. If it doesn't, maybe one day it will. But yes, now we get on to the universities. Not just the college professors, but you have to think, who is funding the universities? Usually it's big donors, pharmaceutical companies, big tech companies. It's not about education. Universities, from my perspective and from just the economical standpoint, economics is the main outcome, the multi-billion-dollar industry of universities. It's not cheap to go there, and they have a lot of backers. And to be able to do research for certain things, i.e., drugs, let's say, for example, most recent thing, the COVID-19 vaccination. Ooh, I'm going to have to put this on pause, you guys. I'll be back.
Tell them to go to hell. No, we're not telling anybody to go to hell. All right, then put the file right here and leave it. No, I don't want it. I don't want it. You keep it. You keep it forever and ever and ever. I don't want it. I don't want somebody else. That's the thing, guy. No. Come on, hold on. No, I'm too busy watching Nancy bleeding. Nancy, hold on.
I'm glad I didn't exit out of this because, yes, I just got a phone call from my son's mother, but apparently she's working right now, and she butt dialed me, the way it seems. But yes, universities, it's a multi-billion-dollar entity. It's not just for education. It's not about education. It is about education a little bit, but it's mainly about making money and making people richer and thinking and acting a certain way. Another good analogy that I just recently heard: if there was a cure for an ailment that was as simple as uprooting a dandelion and boiling that root. You think these multi-billion-dollar companies want that information to get out? Absolutely not. They want you to pay the $20 or $12 a bottle for the Advil, the Aleve. They want you to do that. The $12 bottle for 24 of them. They want you to keep coming back. I'm not saying boiled dandelion roots, it will cure your ailments, but I've heard something about dandelion roots. I'm not sure what it is, but there was something so simple as that, where all you have to do is go pick a fucking dandelion, boil it, boom, it cures whatever ailment that you go pay at Walgreens $7 or $8 for. Something for the matter that like an EpiPen. If there was something more natural that you could just find in your backyard that helps with that, they're not going to want you to know that. So that research does not get funded. The research gets funded and the people get an education, mainly not for humanitarian efforts, but for profit. It's all for profit. Everything is revolved around money. And how do you get money? You get money with control. Like I said, it's a bag of worms. It's a rabbit hole that I go in. So and how do you get information generally if you're looking up information for a research paper? 9 times out of 10 you go to a search engine, and I want to say probably 6 out of those 10 times it's probably Google, Bing, Yahoo. That's a multi-billion-dollar business as well. And who's to say what information you're searching? It's a multi-billion-dollar business as well, putting those top links at the top of the pages. You're not going to search through 100 pages for information. Usually you're going to search those top 10. Maybe you'll go to page 2 or 3. You're not going to dig too deep. You don't have fucking time. There's no time. That's one of my other issues in talking about this rabbit hole. When you're trying to fact check work, it's just another rabbit hole. You go to a link which links you to another article which has another fucking 20 links. And then by the time you're done, you're kind of forgetting the first point and you're just moving on to the subject, and you really haven't learned much because there's just so much to absorb. I think that's kind of the goal, is to dilute the brain with so much information, and you don't really have a leg to stand on. I mean, this person over here on the right could perceive something completely different than this person on the left, and which is completely different than how you perceive things. And who's to say anyone's entirely wrong? Everybody has their core fundamental beliefs. But my question is, how do we get the information, and who decides that this information is relevant and has authority? Who decides that what I'm saying has no relevance, but what Joe is saying is so much more significant? Yes, I understand popularity. Popularity is a huge source of authority. Popularity is a huge source of authority. If I had 1 million followers and I was saying these things, probably at least 2% of those followers would be hanging on every single word I'm saying and treating it as the gospel. That's where things kind of get dangerous. That's where celebrityisms and influencers get dangerous. But most of the people that you see being influencers, they really don't go in depth about much of anything. They do silly antics, silly pranks, clickbaity things. They do things spur of the moment for short attention spans, because that's one thing that the algorithms have definitely figured out. We don't want to exert 3 hours into a video or 25 minutes. We want something gratifying instantly. Instant gratification. That's the word I was looking for. Words. We want instant gratification. And if we're not entertained instantly, we scroll right up. We move on to the next thing that captures our entertainment, that captures our attention. There are not too many more people anymore that actually spend a good amount of time focusing on one subject or one thing. Hell, I've tried recently, but you go to do any type of research and it's just so much information. Then you have to weed out all the bullshit. And that's tough, because your biases start showing as well. They definitely do. I definitely have some biases from what has been going on a lot recently. And it's really ironic. It really is. Things at one time I thought I would stand for, I don't, under the contexts which they're being given. Everybody says follow the man, follow the media, follow the celebrities. Do what the television's telling you to do. Do what the politicians are telling you to do. I've been told all my life politicians are nothing but liars and cheats. All of my life. At least, like, when a businessman lies and cheats from you, salesman, you expect it. But generally, you don't expect people that are supposed to have your best interests to lie, cheat, and steal. They do. I'm going off on a tangent. I generally do, but it's absolutely, it boggles my mind. How do we do research? What do we look up? We go on Google. They tell us what they want us to find. Go on an onion server, but then you got to weed out a whole bunch of craziness. I do. I enjoy going to university pages and looking at people's journals, but who dictates what goes in the journal? I mean, I could write something that has substantial and has merit, but it will never be seen or held in accord to any standard other than this nobody wrote a blog. It's never going to be held in esteem, ever, because I don't have the pieces of paper to back it up. And it's not the years that you're studying. I've been studying for years. I've been reading books. I've been doing my own research. Notebooks filled with notes. So many, hundreds of notebooks filled with notes over the course of past 15 years of my life. But what makes this person more reputable than this person? It's that college education. It's by doing what you're told. If you don't do what you're told, if you're a rebel, if you step out of the comfort zone, if you question things, question authorities, you do not get good grades on the test. Your interest peaks into terraforming Mars, for example, making it livable on Mars. Your interest peaks in that subcategory of the physics department. So now you missed all these other questions because no longer are you studying for the test, but you're doing all this other research on your own. You're the rebel. You're the anomaly. You're the exception. And generally, that is what makes history. but it doesn't make a living. So you have to get a job. You have to be able to pay rent. You have to be able to buy food. And with having this job that doesn't circulate or focus upon your interests and what you are good at, you lose valuable time. You waste time and energy doing these other things, like working. I know when I get home from work, this right here is hard enough for me to set up my laptop and to talk. I wish I had a better speech presented, but my time is valuable. It's invaluable. I don't have much of it. Like, you look at it right now, it's 7:24. I've been home for 2 hours. I showered. I ate. I listened to about 30, 45 minutes of an audiobook as I was doing all that. The hell else did I do? I think that's about it. I dried off. I air dried. I put some lotion on my feet. And I set this up and I started talking. But to do that research, to take that time now, to do these notes, that would take time away from me presenting my ideas in this form. And I can do the research while talking to you guys, like trying to look up why America was started. And like I said, I thought it was taxes. I hate giving false information. I hate giving wrong information. Years ago, I was into knives, and somehow I was talking about, the kukris that I was into. The Nepalese chopped off the heads of cows. It was goats. It was something. I didn't have one of these faithful devices, and my computer was absolute garbage. It was like 10 years old, but I couldn't look up what animal does Nepalese sacrifice. Buffalo. Hindu worshippers have begun killing thousands of buffalo in what is reputed to be the world's biggest animal sacrifice. I didn't have that at my fingertips, so I got chastised all over on that video. Oh no, cows are holy. We worship cows. I got it the first couple of times, but man, the comments just kept pouring in. Yeah. Sometimes we are not correct, and I don't like being wrong. Not for the simple fact of people can say, "Aha, I told you so," but if I'm putting information out into a public forum, I want it to be as accurate as possible. Why? Because I don't want to steer people down a path that is inaccurate and full of misinformation. I don't. And that is one of my struggles with the media. Fucking Christ. The media. The multi-billionaires, the richest people in the world own the media, and they're buying up farmlands. They've done years upon years of research on infectious diseases, buying up farmlands and owning media, owning television companies, owning the newspapers, owning the news channels that we watch. A small percentage of individuals basically control everything in the world. Well, they don't control everything in the world, but they control what we hear, what we see, and that has a tremendous influence, especially with young children who have yet to develop while they're still in their imprinting phase. and they're being fed all this propaganda. Best way to describe it. All this propaganda, the falsities, the inaccuracies. I mean, we did have President Biden and Vice President Harris right before the election saying they refuse to take the vaccine under Trump's administration. But as soon as the administration was turned over to them, they're all for it, and now they're basically demanding it of Americans. I know New York City just posted today that they will be requiring vaccine passports, proof of vaccination, to dine indoors, to go to gyms, and to go to indoor events. So this 1% controls the narrative, and they control the food. And they control infectious diseases, and I'm assuming, and somehow they control the medication. So yeah, it's a very interesting time that we're living in, because they control the narrative, the information, they control the truth. They get to write whatever truth that they want. Yeah, journalistic integrity is gone. Journalists, they need to be number one. They need to be first. They don't care about integrity. They don't care about research. They don't care about much. Not all of them. Definitely not all of them. Not all of them are like that. But the majority are. The majority need to be first, and they need to get numbers. If they don't have numbers, they don't have numbers, man. They don't have the money. They don't have the money. They're not going to be put in front of the screen. So they create controversy, they create drama, and they create narratives. CNN was actually recently exposed for having narratives surrounding Donald Trump, and the narratives for Corona, COVID-19. And the next narrative is going to be climate control, is basically what they broke out saying. Excuse me real quick, you guys. I need to go get something to wet my whistle. I know I should have it here, but I don't, so I'll be right back. My apologies to whoever is watching this, but I had to go do that. I mean, I guess I didn't have to, but my thought, the issue is, probably no one's going to watch this anyway, so cheers. Bang, bang. This is not a paid advertisement. There's 300 milligrams of caffeine, and I need a little pick-me-up. I wonder how loud that is for you guys. The traffic below me. Ironically, you couldn't tell by the noise out there, but I live in a super small town. The town only has 3,000 fucking people in it. Never tell. It sounds like it's a full-blown city out there. It's nuts, man. Yeah, I wish I could talk more about and go into more detail about the subject that I'm truly interested in, and that is the subject of this fucking rabbit hole. I mean, really, just it's like beating a dead horse, though. Everybody knows it. everybody knows that the information that they receive potentially has a lot of biases in it. And if you don't know, you really should know that the information that you receive probably has a little bit of truth and not too much fact. A little bit of truth, not too much fact. That doesn't make sense. A little bit of truth and a lot of bullshit. The information that you receive, and even the facts, history. Who decided what history is? You know, I'm not saying it's all wrong. I'm not saying it is. I mean, it's very interesting, a lot of the stuff. But I mean, imagine if, Hitler won, what the history books would be looking like. They wouldn't be, guarantee you, calling it, travesty towards humanity. They would be justifying it in some sick, twisted fucking way. I'm not entirely sure how you would, but I'm sure there would be a narrative saying that it was justified and, the Jewish people were horrible, awful, wretched people somehow. I don't fucking know. God, I hope nobody finds this and tries to, throw those words in there saying, yo, this asshole, look what he's saying. Well, I mean, I guess if they do, it provides traction and people will start watching some shit. It's just, it's very discerning. I don't know how else to put it. And it's very hard for me to keep a train of thought, because I do. I go on tangents when I'm talking about this. The social structures. Where do we get our information? How are we taught? And how are we going to teach the next generation? I already see them glorifying different sexual orientations to young children. I'm happy for them that they chose that way, but I don't introduce, I wouldn't introduce it. I didn't introduce my child to anything sexual. I mean, he's 12 now, so now I kind of make a little bit more inappropriate jokes. But when he was 6, 5, 4, watching those television shows, didn't have any discussion about, wives and husbands and shit like that. So the fact that now you're having men dressed up as women trying to do that type of thing, it's exposing them to sexuality at a young age, and I don't agree with it. I'm not a very religious person. I do have my morals and I do have my beliefs, but I was not talking sex with my son. I kind of brought it up a little bit now, saying, dude, if you do start having sex, regardless, use a condom. And I have to say, if he wanted to leave the house in a dress, I probably would have said no. And the only reason why I would have said no is I'd want him to have more of a structured, developed mind making those type of decisions. Because as a young child, if he goes out in a dress and he's 7 or 8, he goes to elementary school in that dress, and then all of a sudden 2 or 3 years later it was just, a fucking phase, and he really does like girls, and now he wants to make a name for himself. He's never going to recover from those 2 or 3 years that he wore a goddamn dress to school. And if he still wants to, when he is of a developed mind and can make a rational decision, that is his choice. 100% his choice. And I would stand behind him 100%. But to have it shoved down my child's throat at the age of 3, 4, 5, I do not support. I support anybody for whoever they are. But I wasn't talking, I didn't see anything sexualized when I was a kid. Yeah, I saw a mom and a dad, but generally, I mean, that's the consensus. That's mainly what the household is made up of. But a lot of the times it's grandparents too. It's aunt, uncles, brothers, sisters. It's not just mom and dad. That's just the general consensus. And, from my understanding, if a child is raised in a household with their mother and their father, they're going to be more successful and more emotionally secure They're not going to have so many issues. At least that's what I've heard the statistics are. Something along those lines, you know. Like I said, I'm not hating on anything. I just don't like the information and how it's being presented, since now we have a fucking goddamn encyclopedia tenfold at our fingertips every waking second. I think it's funny, man. They say stay woke. To me, woke means an entirely different thing. We have the man telling us now that America is inherently racist. The same man that, you know, inherently signed a lot of radical racist laws. I've always been the person that doesn't want to be told how to think and what to do. And it feels like every day, for years now, the agenda's getting teeter-tottered on that line of people trying to tell me how I should think and how I should live, force feeding it down my throat. I understand it's 2021. We need a new way of thinking, or whatever saying it's 2021. We need a new way of thinking. I think just fine. When I was 18 years old, I was being hit on by transsexual transvestites. I don't know what the fucking proper term is. Well, I didn't do any harm to them. Actually, matter of fact, when I was that age, I felt a little flattered some dude was fucking hitting on me. Looking at my girlfriend, you know, oh, that's adorable. I didn't have any fucking issue with it. And generally nobody does. The only people that do are the people that control the information, the people that control the money, people that hold the power. It's, like I said, a dangerously slippery slope. It's, it's scary. How do we get our information, and what qualifies a person to have authority to influence others on said information? Psyops is real. I mean, controlling certain populations and controlling the narrative to make the populations do what they want them to do. Military operations have used it overseas. You don't think that they've used it here? I'm not saying the military, but I'm saying these private entities, the people that control the vast majority of fucking everything. Oh yeah, I definitely believe they've used informational warfare to control narratives. You have to be freaking blind if you don't see it, whether you're left or right. I mean, you gotta, as a Democrat, sit there and say, oh yeah, they've been controlling the narratives for these right-wing people, Donald Trump or whatever. They've been, you know, trying to stop journalistic integrity by silencing CNN, and then, you know, you have the people that are Donald Trump supporters saying, look at all these idiots on the fucking left over here spreading all this propaganda. I'm sitting in the middle looking at all of them just dumbfounded. Some people make some sense some of the time. Others make sense other times. But nobody makes sense all the time. And for me, it's nearly impossible to watch CNN or some of these other places where all they do is just spread hate. I don't really watch Fox News that much anymore either, because they kind of spread hate as well. I'm not about spreading the hate. I don't like it. I don't like spreading division. I think that's destroying common ground and destroying conversations. I think having conversations is super important. And it's something that we should take more seriously. I say that, but I hate talking to fucking people. Take me outside in public, I I avoid people like the fucking plague, man. I hate to say this, but 90% of them, they're just ignorant, and or if they're not ignorant, they're in their own world. They don't want to talk about these things. They want to talk about the Patriots or the Broncos or the Padres. Most people really don't give two shits less as long as it doesn't affect their income, their food, a roof over their head, and it doesn't hurt their immediate family or their feelings. Most people don't care that 1% of the population controls all the information. They don't really care that their kids are being indoctrinated to whatever the government, the public schools are teaching them. The majority of them have no interests in that. They have interests in going to work, coming home, and relaxing. Drinking some beer, smoking some pot, forgetting the stresses of the ignorant asshole that is either your boss, your coworkers, or the fucking customer that just shit all over you for that day. Just forgetting about them and going on to the next day. Most people don't want to take the time to educate themselves. I don't fucking blame them. There's so much information, it's nearly impossible. It's hard. You could spend a lifetime learning just trees, insects, carpets, walls. Fucking lifetime learning just one subject. And that's hard for a person like me. I look at a bunch of different subjects. I think they call that philosophy. I look at life. I look at spirituality. I look at space, physics, media, information. Do I understand everything? No. Sometimes do I feel like what I've said is wrong? Yes. That's why I'm not trying to spew out too much of my biases. I'm really not. It's not worth the time or the energy. I'm looking to create a decent life for myself and to focus solely on just negative aspects. It drains a lot out of me. For a while I was oh yeah, you could hear that. I see the little microphone going up. Yeah, it's fucking loud, man. They're loud, yeah. But I noticed when I was focusing on the news, everything was just vastly changing so quickly, and it was super depressing because I don't agree with a lot of it. I'm sure, just like a lot of people back in the Trump days, not agreeing too much with what the hell was going on with Trump and just looking at everything in disgust. I'm kind of doing that with the Biden administration. Did I look at the Trump administration like they're the best thing since sliced bread? Absolutely not. There's no way in hell I could. I mean, they definitely had some flaws, but I like what I think Elijah Schaefer said. I think it was him. Trump's not that bad. And I don't think he was that bad compared to a lifelong politician who just reneges on everything. I mean, he signed so many racist fucking bills in his time. Same thing with Harris, man. It's just, it's definitely a circus. It's definitely a clown show. It's interesting, like I said, to say the least, to see what is going on in the world and how people react and how people believe. I mean, especially the activists, and I get it. Everyone in their early college years were activists. Even the LSD era, those were the activists back then, saying, open your minds, man, open your minds. The psychedelics will do that. You always have that generation, but it's probably the old man coming out in me. I just don't feel that these are the right virtues to be trying to stand on a pedestal over. If I believe systematic racism was super awful, I would back that 10,000%. But I've lived my life, and I've encountered a lot of different things and a lot of different people. And I've done my own research, and I've witnessed things my entire life where systematic racism exists, but it doesn't exist in the way that it's being fed to me. I'm doing my own research, and it seems like Hispanics and people of color have a lot more opportunity than what mainstream propaganda puts forth. I mean, they're basically saying that it's impossible for them to get an ID to go vote. Just because you're black doesn't mean you're fucking an idiot and you don't know how to go to a DMV. In most metropolitan areas, they have public transportation where you could literally go anywhere in the city for a couple of dollars a day. Well, if they're too poor to get that couple of dollars, trust me, I've been in that position. You could definitely ask people for money and you will get your bus pass for the day. I've been in that position when I was younger. I definitely got my bus pass, and I found my way to the DMV as well. Just because you're black, you're not stupid. Just because you're Hispanic, you're not stupid. Just because you're white, you're not stupid. Just because you're Asian, you're not smart. It doesn't work that way. And just the lies. I can't wait for another 30 years so I could start reading some of these educational books. You know, sociology books. I haven't picked up a sociology book in probably 10 years. It'd probably be pretty interesting now to read some of the things that they have going on in the sociology department, the social justice department, because it seems like everyone kind of went into college for that for quite a while, for a long time. Well, I'm sure they still are. That's the biggest thing. It just like created a bunch of these social justice warriors that came out. And my brother-in-law, he's one of them. Ironically, he was homeschooled, but I mean, he believes in pretty much a socialist country, which I saw earlier today, that they're trying to give $1,200 a month to people just for being people of the United States. And I'm not saying capitalism is end-all be-all, and only because I've noticed, you know, but even if you look at Bezos, man, Bezos didn't come into fucking power up until past like 10, 12 years, so that just shows an average person who opened up a fucking online bookstore, I don't know, fucking crazy, an online bookstore, became one of the richest men in the world. So capitalism does work. I just don't believe those that are the richest people in the world should be able to have access to control populations. Because that reminds me of dictators throughout the history. Kings, per se, you know. Yeah, you could have all the money in the world to do whatever the fuck you want. But I believe that free press should be that free press. And I don't think any entity should own free press. Yes, I get it. Well, how the fuck are they going to put out print? Well, they're not anymore. They're not putting out print. That's why I like so many of these independent videos that I watch. the independent news articles that I read. I like that a lot more than I like these, like Rupert Murdoch, the owner of fucking Fox. At least he was for years, you know. I'm pretty sure. I don't like one individual controlling an entity like that. That's so insane. I think journalism should be journalism, and they should be fighting for the truth and doing, deep dives and asking questions that people don't want to answer, and if they don't answer them, finding out the truth, not just putting out the next big headline that sells. I don't think that has a lot of integrity to it. I think a lot of journalists are hacks. I really don't. I don't think that they should have a job, and ironically, they're getting paid fucking six figures to be hacks, to be filling people's heads with misinformation and disinformation, and they want to turn around and sit there and say we need to silence individuals on platforms like Facebook and YouTube for misinformation and disinformation. It's really insane to me. It really is. Especially like the very beginning of the corona pandemic. I remember Trump was like, okay, we got to stop flights from China. Everyone was calling him a racist. Said, oh no, keep the airplanes coming in. He said people should stop riding public transportation. Then you had, Democrats getting on CNN and garbage, riding on subways. So what's the big deal? And then they turn around and blame Trump, saying he didn't do enough, while they're running around saying, no, it's okay to do this stuff without a mask, and it's okay to travel, and he's racist for not allowing traveling. But then all of a sudden it's all forgotten. Everything's forgotten, and instead of them being hypocrites and them being fired, they're hailed as the unsung heroes for spreading the misinformation of Trump was such an asshole and he didn't do enough. I hate it, man. I do not like it, and I do not understand how these people sleep at night. I really don't. I really, truly don't. I don't understand it whatsoever. It blows my mind. It blows my mind that they're that successful for lying. Not even being entertaining, just spreading fucking fear and anger and hatred. They're just spreading diseases, the disease of the fucking mind. They're corrupting minds instead of spreading positivity and looking at things that we can accomplish as a unit. They're spreading division and fear. That's not what it's about. It's about coming together, not being separate. But that's one thing about human nature, man. It's we're always at war. We're always battling. We have to. It's just like I said. It's in our nature. We're parasitic in that way as well. Not just corrupting our planet. And no, I'm not some fucking crazy hippie tree hugger either. But yeah, do I think we're corrupting our planet a little bit? Yeah. Do I think it's plausible to sit here and not drive vehicles in our society in this day and age? Absolutely not. But hypocritical once again for, people in power telling us not to do certain things, like drive cars, we have to go green, and then they launch, rockets into space. Fucking hypocritical. It's just one big facade. It's one big clown show. Make you fucking feel bad to give up your liberties so they get to do whatever the fuck they want, man. Think of just trying to run a business. Like, I was looking into different career fields, right? Even being a bounty hunter, a bail bondsman, going to catch people that jump bail, private eye, even to be a private investigator, you have to have like 1,000 hours under somebody to be a private investigator. Back in the day, you could just be a PI, get a fucking camera and follow people around and, get paid for it. You can't do that anymore. There's not much you can do anymore without experience, without money, or an education. But what the fuck is an education? What's this piece of paper, man? I mean, you gotta pay $30,000 for a fucking piece of paper to say, hey, you're qualified, but you're no more intelligent than you would have been if you were just to read on the subject. Read 100 books, 200 books. Probably be more well versed in the field that you're interested in if you did private study. And but you need textbooks. Ironically, you could actually buy textbooks that they use at the college and study that way. I'm guilty. I spend $135 occasionally on textbooks. I do. Oops. But I don't have that piece of paper, so when, I go walk in to apply for a job, most I'm looking at is $15 an hour. That sucks, man. There's so much I wanted to do in life. It's getting a little late for that, unless I'm just super lucky and I get Bezos money or something. Just so much I wanted to do. Like Elon Musk is like living my fucking dream, to be honest with you. Elon Musk is definitely living my dream. I came up with plans for robots being able to drill in outer space, different planets, which I guess isn't a good thing. I mean, we're talking about healing, and here I am talking about more drilling, just doing it away from Earth. So that's more destruction. See, this is where I need to veer my head away from. I need to veer my head away from my human tendency to destroy. I need to learn how to create, not destroy, not suffocate. Because really drilling into another planet, yes, although it would provide resources for us here, it would be killing that other planet. But another planet we have in mind, and this planet's lasted who knows how long, but I think maybe other planets, they're not so structurally sound like the Earth, and you start drilling it and they fall apart. And if they're in our solar system, which they'd have to be, because fuck, I think it takes 3.5 years to get to Mars. Hold on, let's look it up. Oh, I forgot I could just press button. How long does it take to get to Mars? It says 150 to 300 days to get to Mars, so about a year to get to Mars. It takes a year to get to Mars, and what happens if that planet, Mars, is a lot fragile, and you start digging to the center, and all of a sudden it cracks? That's a few planets away, right? Earth, Mercury, Venus, Jupiter, Mars. So, I don't know. What number is Mars? 0 people, no shit. What planet away from the sun is Mars? It's the 4th planet, so we're the 3rd planet from the sun. This is the next planet over. So, say if we were to drill into Mars, it cracked in half, and now it fucks up the orbit. What happens to Earth? I'm sure it would have a huge impact. It's like Bill Gates, I guess, man. He was talking about blocking out the sun. I don't know if that would be a wise idea. We don't know the implications, and we don't know the long-term effects of messing around with anything like that. I just I don't see it. But back in the day with the Hadron Collider, I think, where they're smashing 2 atoms together like at the speed of light, wow, that freaked me out. I'm like, dude, they're creating black holes. What happens if they create a black hole that's just too powerful to contain and it just sucks up the Earth? Has not happened yet. Will it happen? It could happen. Could be a huge doomsday event. I don't know. That freaked me out back in the day. Shit, how old was I? I was like 22, 23, I think, when I first heard of that. I was young. I was a young buck. Oh, yeah. I'm a little older now. Not any wiser. Definitely not wiser. Yeah, things freak me out, man. Especially who controls the information. That really worries me. I don't like the fact that Google and Facebook and Twitter and Amazon have all this control. So even the pharmaceutical companies, I'm leaving out a whole heap of fucking people. I'm just talking about like what I see in my face, man. It's just it's very, very sketchy. It's not a good look, I don't think. But I think I'm signing out. I think I talked enough. It's going on an hour or so. And I hope this finds you guys very well. And I hope to be back on here very soon and doing this again. Until next time, people, be safe, be righteous, and ride, baby, ride. Yeah. Yeah, I love it.